Hey guys, we're back with the second part. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So I'm going to start with shop car, and we can start with the code for that. So the first thing we want to do is we want to set this shop car to 0, 0 all the time. So I'm just going to go into my motion blocks, get this go to 0, 0, and it's going to be there forever. And then I'm going to change the direction a bit so that it's looking right. You don't have to, that's just how I'm going to do it. Alright, next. If we look into the costumes, we can see that our first one is the Citroën. So what we are going to do is go into our looks. We're going to switch our costume to Citroën. So that's going to be our first car. And now what I want to do is I'm going to have a forever block here. And this forever block is going to have 3 if statements in here, just like that. And these 3 if statements are basically going to tell Scratch which car to choose. So now in order to do that, we are going to create a variable. I'm going to name this variable something like car choice, just like that. We have our car choice variable here. We do not need to show that, so I will uncheck it. Now we can move into our arrow 1, which is our right arrow, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to first set my car choice variable to 0 so that it always starts on 0. Then I'm going to say when the sprite is clicked, so when we click this, we want our costume to change or go to the second one. So what we are going to do is we are going to, that's fine, we are going to go into our variable blocks and we are going to change the car choice by 1. So it's going to go from 0 to 1 to 2. Now our only problem is, what if it goes to 3? That is not going to work since we only have 3 cars and we're going from 0. So what we're going to do is go into our control, go into our forever blocks right here. Then we're going to say, we're going to have an if statement here that says if our, going to get our car choice variable here, car choice is equal to 3, which is 1 over what we want, we are going to set our car choice variable back to 0. So this is going to make sure that we always see the right car, and if it passes our third car, then it'll go straight back to the red one. Then I'm going to have one more event, and I'm going to say when this backdrop switches to backdrop 2, I will hide it, which is the backdrop of the racetrack. So this is going to be my code for the right arrow. Now we can move into our left arrow. So what I'm going to do from here is just take this when this sprite is clicked, drag it over to arrow 2, and if I bring the top over to it, it'll shake a little. I can drop it in. Then this will come over here. If you can't do it, just pause the video here and copy this down. But what we are going to be doing here is I'm going to say when this sprite is clicked, I want to change the car choice by -1. So for example, if my car choice was on 2 and I was looking at my last car and this guy chooses the left click, then it'll move backwards. So we're going to change our car choice by 1, And in this forever block, since we're going backwards, we don't need if it's going to equal 3. So what we are going to do is take this block out. We're going to go to our operators and take this instead, the less than function. And I'll put my card choice variable back in there. But I'm going to say if it's less than 0, then we're going to do some task. So what we're going to do is going to set our card choice back to 0, so like -1 to 0. And we're going to change our card choice by 2. So essentially what this is doing is I'm setting my card choice back to this red one, and then I'm moving forward 2. So say I was on this car right here and I click backwards. We don't have a -1 here, so what we're gonna do is, or a 0, so what it's gonna do is set this back to its original and move forward 2, which is going to be our blue car. Cool. And that's going to be it for this one. We just need to do one more thing. We're gonna do our backdrop switch again and hide. Just like that. Alright. That's gonna be it for the Aero 2. Now we can go right back to our shop car. Now that we've defined a variable, we can start to include some stuff inside it. So, what I'm gonna do is I will put some conditions in our if blocks. So I'm going to take this equal block, duplicate it 3 times, since we have 3 different cars, and we're going to put these inside our if statements. And I'm going to say if our card choice variable equals 0, if our card choice variable equals 1, if our card choice variable equals 2. So these are the 3 conditions for our cars. Now I'm just going to go into our look box and switch the costume to what's in order. You can also switch the costume to whatever order you would like. You can set this red one first or the blue one second, something like that. But I'll make it easier for us and I'll just set it in order. Just like that. Perfect. Now we got this all working. Now what I'm going to do is create an equip button right here. So what this equip button is going to do is it's going to let me click it, and then I will be able to set it to the car that I choose here. So I'm just going to set it to some like orange color, like that. Put it down here. I'll set the X to 0, and inside I'll just put a text inside, and then I'll just say equip, of course in a black color, and then I'll put it right in the middle, increase the size of it just like that, and I'll go ahead and add an outline to this, maybe outline of like 3. Now we'll go 10. That looks good. And we can just put it right here, make my X is 0, and this is going to allow us to equip the car that we choose. Cool. So let's get the code for this. First thing we need to do is always start with our flag, and with this flag I'm going to set it in this position 0, -117. So I'm going to go to 0, -117, and I'm going to set the size to something a little smaller. 50, no, that's a little too big. That looks fine. 75, so it's gonna go to this location, and we can also show this block like this, and I also want to set the size to the size I chose, which is 75. so that it always stays at this value when it starts. Now, when the sprite is clicked, we need to make it visible for people, and so they can understand that they chose something. So if I click this equip right now, then it would just do nothing, and if I was actually playing this game, I wouldn't know what's happening. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the size a little so that they can see the click. So what I'm gonna do is set the size to something smaller, maybe like 65. Then I'm gonna wait a few seconds so it's not like an instant click. So around 0.05, nothing too big. Then I'm gonna set my size right back to our original 75%, just like that. And then once that happens, we need to switch our backdrop to our racetrack. And after that happens, we're just gonna hide this block, just like that. Now, if we see this in our code, I can use the arrow keys to switch through our cars, and it will do exactly what I want it to do. And then say I equip this, it's gonna do that. And another thing, that was a little bit too quickly, so I'm just gonna add a quick wait block here again, just like that. Equip it. Okay. That was weird. That's a little too fast. I might just change it to like 1 second. Like that. Alright, cool. Now we have this shop car stuck here, so I'm just going to do a quick when backdrop switches to backdrop 2 and hide. Cool. Now we got our racetrack. So I'm on my finish line right here. So I'll just click show real quick so I can see it. And I'll change the direction a little so it's like kind of slanted. Change it to a smaller size. Let's play around with that. Looks good. That's gonna be my size for this. Now let's get the code in for that. So this is gonna stay as is. And now in our event blocks, we need to make it so that when our backdrop switches to a racetrack or a backdrop 2, then we're going to show this block, and we're going to set it in this position that I like. So go to -160, 69, and I will point in direction. Here it's 109, so I'll set it to 109. That way it's always gonna look like that. Now we got our game car. I want to show this block real quick so we can play around with it. So it's like this. I want to decrease the size a lot. 30 is a bit too big. I might go 20. Looks good. And I will drag it like this. So my starting position will be like around 25. So let's start the code for this. What I'm going to do for this is, first I want to make it so that it switches this to this car. So we're going to hide this. We're going to go into our motion blocks, set the correct position. So -152 and 93. And we're also going to point in our correct direction, which is going to be 21. Now what I'm going to do is go into my shop car. I'm just going to just take this piece of code, this forever loop, and drag it into my game car. Notice how it shakes when I drag it right on top. That means it's going to fall into that sprite. So I'm just going to drop it in, and my code comes here. Now I'll just drop it into the rest of the code. What this is going to do is it's going to take the car choice that I chose and just put it into here. So let's take a look. So say I choose this car, this blue one or purple one, I equip it, then, oh, oops, you forgot to do something important. So, when this is clicked, we want to make it so that when the backdrop switches to backdrop 2, we need to show this. Just like that. Now, if I choose that same purple car, then it will show that purple car in the actual game. Awesome. Okay, so that's going to be it for part 2. In the next part, we are going to make the car move, and when it's on the road it'll move fast, when it's on the green or the grass it's going to move slower, and when it hits these like purple things or the boundaries, then it'll like bounce backwards. Alright, that's cool, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.